Good evening, everyone. Wow. Welcome to the Monday, December 22nd meeting of the Bennington Select Board. We are on the third floor multi-purpose room of the Bennington Fire Facility on River Street in Bennington. My name is Tom Haley. I have the honor of chairing this board. I'll ask my fellow board members to introduce themselves, starting with Nancy.
Hi, Nancy White.
Good evening, Sarah Perrin.
Hello, Jim Sullivan.
Good evening, I'm Jackie Matz.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Clark Adams.
Thank you. Also with us, we have Town Manager Dan Monks. We have Nancy Lively preparing to take excellent minutes. We have Jonah Spivak handling everything audio-visual. I see Shannon Barsati in the audience as well. And handling everything for CAT TV, we have Tabor Coulter, making sure this gets out to the community. We will start this evening, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jackie, would you lead us, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And Sarah, would you please share our vision statement, which guides our work?
Sure thing. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you very much. So we'll start, as always, with the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of December 8th and the warrants. For the purpose of discussion, could I have a motion to accept, please?
So moved.
Second? Okay, Clark, thank you. Any discussion on the warrants or the minutes?
I would like to add in a letter from myself that should have been added to the November 24th minutes. I think that, so we could add it to this one, it would make more sense.
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you.
The only other thing I have is the addendum on the executive session. We should probably note that we did take no action. Anything from anybody else? All right. All in favor of the minutes and the warrants, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions?
I will abstain as I was not there for executive session.
Okay, thank you. All right, we had no one sign up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would wish to speak for public comment that didn't have a chance to sign up? All right, thank you very much.
Hello? Is there anybody?
You have Sam Restino on the public?
Oh, I didn't know Sam was on there. Thanks. Sam, did you have something for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on public comment, and I'll be very quick about it. I'm questioning, it was warranted in the Bennington Banner in the beginning of December, the January 6th meeting, 2026 for the fiscal year, talking about the budget for 2027. Is that still on, or has that been postponed?
The upcoming budget sessions, are those what you're talking about, Sam?
Well, it was posted in the banner, and the reason why I'm questioning is you go on the town website, and it lists all the meetings that are listed. The only meeting that is listed is this meeting tonight, and I think it should be listed, well, when it's coming up or whatever. It usually is ahead of time for the January meeting, but I don't see it on the website.
Yeah, we'll be announcing those meetings.
Yeah, we'll be announcing those meetings later this evening, Sam, so there shouldn't have been anything in the banner yet.
Okay, that's one item. Secondly, on the trails, does the town consider that I know people are running on the trails, walking on the trails, and needed the trails. Are they going to be maintaining them, meaning plowing them if the snow total gets high, or salting them? Because my statement is, if they're going to be doing that, that's last on the list for town structures to be taken care of. Yes, your roads, yes, your sidewalks, the trails are last. I think we're setting ourselves up for liability. Signs should be posted stating that when the amount of snowfall falls in December, these trails are closed and they don't open up until they can be safely walked on until the month of March or April.
Okay, anything else for us, Sam?
Think about. It's something to think about.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, any update on the Ben High project from a contractor or something? You need to put that on the agenda to give somebody for an update on the process of how the Ben High renovation is doing. That's out there. And that's all I got.
Okay, Sam, thanks very much. Dan, do you have anything on that? Dan, do you have anything on that, on the plowing and so forth?
Well, there are certain, to Sam's point, the trails are prioritized last after the roads and sidewalks. Some trails we do plow, some trails we do not plow. For instance, we do plow the downtown Riverwalk. We do not plow the Ninja Path. That's an Act 250 condition because it has porous pavement. We're not actually allowed to plow it or sand it or salt it. So different trails have different protocols.
Tom, can I
Go ahead, Jim.
one note I would just make in response to the comment is I would suggest that the trails would never be closed. They may not be maintained as Dan mentioned, by plowing them or salting them or something like that. But there are many trails that are maintained that are used widely by people who are snowshoeing and cross-country skiing, and it's a wonderful use of the resource. I think ultimately a decision has to be made about which trails are maintained in the winter and which ones aren't, but none of them should be closed.
All right, thank you. All right, first up we have Vermont Route 7 intersection scoping study, where we're hoping to endorse a preferred alternative. This is a continuation from a past meeting, and we are joined this evening via Zoom.
So if there are questions, comments that we want to be responsive to, I'll just ask that you do your best to speak into a microphone so we can actually hear you.
Okay, so everyone at this point should have had opportunity to review the materials that were sent along, including the presentation and the study, which, as we were warned, was quite dense. But there was a lot of information there. Unless they have anything to add in way of presentation, I can throw this to the board. Clark?
Hi. My question is in lines with what Mr. Woods and I think Jim talked about, issues of drainage, water management after significant precipitation in that area. Is that something that your organization has now modified their project plans to address, or?
Yeah, so something to consider in design, certainly. So with an endorsement of preferred alternative from this body, we would be moving into, V-Trans would eventually be moving this project into the design phase, at which point, looking in more detail than we did, what the drainage needs would be, what the stormwater needs would be, and certainly with the roundabouts and the median treatments that are proposed in the preferred alternative, we'd be talking about drainage systems to convey water through that area based on the new curb lines that we would be creating to have those treatments as we see them in the preferred alternative. So definitely something that would be considered in more detail in the design phase. But we have accounted for some of that drainage infrastructure as part of our cost estimates that we are progressing forward to the agency.
Okay, and
I would add that during the design phase, our engineers would take a hard look at drainage as it relates to stormwater, because we would be required to have permitting for stormwater treatment, along with any possible floodplain or stream alteration permits that the Agency of Natural Resources would require us to have.
And my last question relates to, I guess, development / economic expansion along that corridor. Has your organization, or does your organization have a mechanism to prognosticate where development may be in this 10-year project, whether or not the traffic flow is going to appreciably increase to the point where maybe these projected improvements would not meet projected growth requirements?
Yeah, it's a great question. We did take into consideration some projected growth estimates as part of the traffic analysis. So, it's maybe not at the granular level of looking at individual parcels and their build out, but it is at the level of understanding that there is anticipated growth through this area, and using the growth factors that VTrans has developed to be able to do that future projection of development through this area and anticipated traffic implications of that future growth.
Jim?
Yeah, thank you. I think you talked about, and is evident that the safety improvements at the intersections are clear, and kind of building on what Clark just said about future growth projections and looking at future traffic growth. Have you looked at what the difference would be with traffic delays and level of service at those intersections for the different turning movements with the existing condition versus the addition of these new roundabouts?
Yes, and all of that information is included in the scoping report, as well as the scoping report appendices that you all have available to you. Certainly, if there are specific questions on any of those traffic projections or anticipated traffic operations and delay measures, we can certainly go into that in a little more detail if we need to.
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to go into it like turning movement by turning movement, but can you characterize it generally if the situation, if there's, anticipated traffic growth, how the intersections function with or without the changes?
Yeah, so with the roundabout treatment, it is an improvement to delay and certainly helps to minimize queuing at each of these intersections. And you'll see with the preferred alternative, we leaned towards a multi-lane sort of hybrid roundabout at the Northside Drive intersection. And that was primarily to best accommodate some of that, existing and future anticipated traffic, and for that eastbound right-hand movement, which is a pretty heavy movement in the existing condition, and anticipated to be even more so in the future. And so definitely took that into consideration. That was one of the places where we really took a hard look at the future growth projections and made some decisions about what we thought it was going to take to be able to accommodate that traffic in a future condition.
Can I ask a question? You're letting other select board members speak.
We'll get you in here, Sam.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anything else from the board? Nancy?
I'm very concerned that this is a major project that's been in the work for 40 or 20 years at least, and many people in Bennington had never heard or seen anything until a couple of weeks ago. And I was really surprised how much information I was able to get after the last meeting. I wish we'd had this on 2 agendas last year, one early this year, to really hear from the public What parts do they support? What don't they support? What changes do they want to see? I can't vote on this with so little information for the public and so little input from the public.
I'd point out that we've had several presentations about this over the past few years. This is at least the third one that I've sat in.
I saw one maybe 5 years ago. It was very general.
No, it was much more recent than that.
Well, there were two in 2023. They didn't generate much buzz. Nothing last year, nothing this year. I mean, this is a major project that's going to have a lot of impacts. I didn't see anything about Kosher Drive.
That was discussed in the past sessions that we had. But I understand your frustrations there, but all we can do is provide the information to the public. We can't force the public to take that information.
But where has all this information been on the town website for a couple of years?
It should have been, yeah.
Yes.
Basically, everything we do is on the town website.
All those presentations were on the website, and all this information was posted at the after
Okay, but two in
meetings ago.
2023, as things got more refined and closer. I just don't know why we wouldn't have had two presentations last year and one early this year.
I would suspect because there was nothing had changed. But be that as it may. Anyone else? I'm sorry, were you finished? Did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the financial impact on many of the businesses, especially when you get Orchard Road, Hicks Avenue. Will there be any financial compensation during construction?
So typically we don't, well, I guess if you're talking about financial compensation to an individual private business, that's not something that our construction projects are allowed to finance based on federal funding rules. Certainly this project, prior to and during construction, will have a significant public outreach component to it. So, we don't take these size projects lightly. We try to get ahead of it as far as we can to give businesses and other users of the corridors enough time to prepare. But in short, we are not generally allowed to finance, or compensate businesses or private properties beyond whatever physical impacts that we have to their properties.
And do you have approval from the property owners to take the property you're going to need to at the Hicks Orchard Road intersection?
I'm sorry, I guess I didn't catch all that.
Where you're proposing the rotary at Hicks Avenue and Orchard Road, I think you said when you were here last, you need to take some of the land from each property. Do you have the approval of the property owners to do that?
So there is a whole separate process involved with negotiating property transfers as part of public works projects such as this. Property owners have full rights under the law. We will essentially appraise the properties that we plan on attempting to acquire, and then we'll enter into negotiations to see if they're willing to accept our financial offers. In the rare cases that those property owners fail to reach a negotiation with the state, then we would probably seek to condemn through the court system, but that's not something we try. It's something we try to avoid. But in all cases, whatever lands are required as part of this project would be based on a fair market value.
And if the three rotaries were in place, what do you estimate the speed of traffic would be in between those rotaries? If I get off one rotary and I'm...
I guess I couldn't hear that all fully again. I'm sorry.
if the 3 rotaries were in place, and I get off one rotary and I head to the next one, what do you estimate the average speed will be that the traffic will be going in between the rotaries?
Am I hearing that question as, what do you think that the average speed of the vehicles will be entering those roundabouts?
Yeah, I mean,
That's the case, yes.
Sorry, we're having a little trouble hearing you over the virtual. So we did an analysis to look at the fastest speed that folks could achieve with the current layout. Now, a reminder that it's likely that this design will evolve as it goes through the design process, but we do anticipate that there will be a decrease in speed, and so what we do to analyze this is called a fastest path analysis, where it's essentially looking at the fastest speed you could achieve if you were moving through that infrastructure without sort of any vehicles in front of you or obstructions. And with that fastest path analysis for the single and the multi-lane roundabouts, we are finding the fastest you could possibly move through that and have physics not working against you would be approximately 35 miles an hour. And that is also in the evaluation matrices within the draft report that you can refer to.
and did you have an estimate for peak traffic?
One more time, try me with that question. My apologies.
High volume traffic times, I'm thinking when people are getting out of work and school, are the cars going to be going 15 miles an hour?
So in high traffic times, we did see that vehicles would continue to move well through those intersections, better with the roundabouts than and fewer delays with roundabouts than with the signalized intersections. So it was an improvement. But the speeds that they'll be able to achieve with that infrastructure in place, even in higher traffic times, will be reduced compared to the existing condition.
Emergency vehicles. Depending on where the emergency was, we could be asking our fire trucks to have to get on and navigate 2 rotaries to get to a fire or an accident. I'm worried about peak traffic. If there's cars on the rotaries, that would be stopped and the trucks have to try to get around them. Is that an issue where you have other rotaries?
I guess I'll speak to how roundabouts have been operating in Vermont, and that we don't typically have issues with emergency vehicles. Our roundabouts are sized appropriately to accommodate large fire trucks and other emergency vehicles, but also there are certain rules in place where if you are in a roundabout and an emergency vehicle comes up behind you, you should exit the roundabout as you would normally and then pull over to allow an emergency vehicle to pass. But typically we don't have issues with emergency vehicles in our roundabouts.
Can I add to that too, Tom? Because that's a legitimate concern, but I would suggest that the roundabout configuration presents far less impediments to emergency vehicle access than the situation without them. If you think back to the situation with the intersection at Walmart, before there was a roundabout and the traffic queues going both directions there, trying to get a fire truck through there would be near and impossible in peak traffic conditions, whereas now there's very rarely any backup.
And for people coming on US 7 into Bennington or leaving Bennington, how far up on that road will it stay single lane?
Am I hearing the question that how far will the single lane?
When I'm on the big rotary at 7A and US 7, and if I want to leave to go north, how far up there is that going to stay one lane?
With what we've proposed, it wouldn't be too far. It would expand back out to a 2-lane corridor. have to take a measurement to see how far we proposed, but we would make sure that we're accommodating that taper length appropriately.
I couldn't hear her. How far did she say?
There's standards for the requirement for the taper from 2 lanes to 1 lane, and they would make sure that they meet the standards for the safe tapering of the lanes.
Anything from anyone else?
Thank you for making yourselves available to answer my questions prior. I appreciate you making yourselves available. This is Sarah, making yourselves available to answer my question. I think that's it from the board. Sam, that was myself. I believe I'm the last person.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jonah?
Let me know when it's time, and I'll
Okay, great. So I will now open it up to comments from the public. I see you back there, Mary. Sam's been waiting patiently. Let's let him go. Sam, go ahead.
Okay, this new technology, bear in mind, I guess you can still hear me. I have quick questions from the last meeting that you were there, November 24th. It's been a month. It hasn't been stated clearly that there's 3 roundabouts. Without these 3 roundabouts working together, if you drop one out, then the project is a no-go, correct? Hello?
Are you hearing Sam okay?
I guess I'll just speak to that a little bit. In theory, if you drop a roundabout out of the corridor or out of the project, it's not necessarily a no-go, but we're looking at this project as a corridor in general. So it doesn't make sense to remove improvements out of any of the intersections. This is our opportunity to improve all of them in some shape or form. And so what this study has shown is that roundabouts at the 3 locations at the intersections in the corridor are the most appropriate. So we wouldn't drop a roundabout out of this.
Okay.
So let me, Sam, let me just jump in on that. This is Jim Sullivan. Hey, Sam. These three roundabouts have been studied to work together as a system. So if you took one out, I think they would have to be reevaluated to see if it still worked as a system. I know one of the issues that we used to run into when you were looking at intersections that are fairly close to each other and you had a roundabout at one and not at an adjacent one is potential queuing back from the one that wasn't a roundabout if you had a signalized intersection and the queue of traffic extending back into the roundabout, the adjacent roundabout, and that always created a problem. So I don't know if that would be the case in this situation, but I suspect if you dropped one out, you would have to reevaluate to see if it worked.
You know, if I could, Jim, I was under the impression the young lady we met with last time mentioned, in fact, they consider these 2 separate projects, that the Coker Drive was one and the Orchard and Benmont areas were a second project. But again, just like you were just saying, it in my mind, they're symbiotic. I can't imagine why one of those 2 projects would be successful if you exclude the others.
No, my question is the one on Hicks Avenue, which is Orchard, seems a little tight. That would be my question, of keeping the light there. Because you're taking the dam systems out, which are the traffic lights, and you're having all that traffic going in. My next question is on Kosher Drive as you're going into Bennington where Tasty Freeze is, and it drops down to 30 miles per hour, and your point of line for State Highway drops before the Deer Park. How I know about this because I highlighted a crosswalk. But it goes down to 30 miles per hour. How much of that extension of the roundabout goes into Bennington, and then that speed limit, which is 40 miles an hour, is still going to be maintained at 35, and then when it gets down into the town system, where the deer park is, down to 30, how are we going to maintain that traffic there?
If we're talking about maintaining traffic beyond sort of the scope of this corridor, I'm afraid that I can't really speak to how, in a future iteration, we're going to be maintaining that traffic. But for this corridor and what we've shown, this preferred alternative does meet our standards for handling that traffic on the approaches to the roundabout and like I said before, accounting for the necessary standards for taper lengths and that sort of thing to handle the traffic.
Yeah, because I want to bring to light that your next dam system, which is a signal light, is in the town of Bennington at County Street and Hunt Street. So you're going to have all that free-flowing traffic until you hit a signal light, which is the main thoroughfare, which was originally Route 7. Back in the day. So that's just my question there. And that seems to be a lot of accidents at County and Hunt Street and also Park Street.
Maybe I can add a little bit to that just from studies that I had done in the past with my organization. So one of the issues that I think you're alluding to, Sam, is the fact that you've got high-speed southbound traffic because you got this multi-lane highway that 4 lanes plus that narrows to 3 lanes and a turning lane, and then 2 lanes, and then 1 lane each way. And this really addresses that situation pretty effectively by tapering the lanes down at the roundabout and slowing traffic down at that point. So traffic is slowed down through the roundabout and out of the roundabout. So you don't have people kind of like anybody that drives down there now, they're kind of like competing for position to get ahead of each other, going down by, the veterans home in that area. So it's really not a safe situation now, and it certainly is much improved by tapering the traffic to 1 lane and slowing it down at the roundabout.
Well, bear in mind, for those that don't know, I lived on the flats, Northside Drive across from 90 Pine Motel, which the old homestead is a Midas muffler shop. So I saw that growing up as a kid. So at one time there were all houses, residential houses, and over time businesses have grown. And I'm preaching to the Inquirer, when you have businesses and blacktop and macadam, where do you think all that stormwater runs off to? Into Northside Drive.
Right.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Mary?
Mary Morrissey, Bennington. I guess I wanted to know, with the additional stormwater planning or what you'll be doing on for the drainage, how much more of a cost will that be? You had come up with some figures at the last meeting, so I'm just wondering if you've taken a look at what those additional costs would be at this point.
I apologize. If there was a question at the tail end of that, I could not hear it. Could someone repeat the question?
Yes, the stormwater or any drainage additional work that would need to be done, what would the additional costs be? Because you gave us a figure at the last meeting, but with what you just said this evening, that you would be looking into that a little bit deeper. So is that an additional cost?
I guess I can, I'm not really sure how to answer that other than the cost of that's just, that cost is something that every project with a drainage or stormwater treatment absorbs anyway. So we're still at a scoping level. That's not something that we really know the detailed costs of at this point, and we won't for quite a while. So I don't really have a great answer for you on that, other than it's something that every project has to endure. And it's just part of doing a roadway reconstruction job.
Okay, so, but it will be, I would say probably for that area, a considerable amount more in the project, correct?
I'm sorry, didn't understand the question at all. I really apologize.
Let me go to my next question. Did you take into account the paving that may need to be done for Northside Drive? If anyone is driving down Northside Drive, both sides of the roads have where there's and you can see it. So if you haven't actually driven over it to feel it, and I have had constituents stop me to say, what materials did they use on that road? There are 2 tire, and Jim's shaking his head, marks on both sides of the road, especially from I would say, the Hicks Orchard down past the roundabout at Walmart. And when it snows or rains, people are actually a bit hydroplaning, and if you watch the traffic, folks are really either getting way over to the curb to avoid driving in these ruts, or they're going more to the center where that third lane is for turning. So have you included in this project, because I think if you're doing a major project like this, we would need to have that all paved and resurfaced down there in conjunction with it. Was that ever considered?
So I'll answer that in 2 parts. One, the project, once complete, will have new paved surfaces everywhere within the project limits. So you'll have a brand new surface, no ruts. We've estimated some of the cost, preliminarily at this scoping phase. Again, with the drainage, we'll have a more detailed cost estimate for pavement once we get into the design and everything. The second part to my answer is that this project is quite a bit down the road time-wise, that I wouldn't be surprised if Route 7A and maybe even 67A would be resurfaced as part of the state's normal cycle of repaving or resurfacing projects. I suspect that one of those type of projects will come through here and fix the existing conditions way before this project comes to fruition.
Okay, I guess that answers it. I always, having sat on the Transportation Committee, I always thought it was a shame that we end up digging up another project after have done a pavement project, but it's business as usual, so thank you for your answer.
Jim, go ahead.
I just want to add, one thing, that this section of roadway, in fact, it was one of the changes we made to the town plan was recognizing that there's a lot of deficiencies along this section of highway from that Route 7 intersection all the way out to the 67A intersection, and that the town and the state need to cooperate and collaborate to address those numerous deficiencies along the whole corridor. It's a big undertaking, and it always has been, and I think that's one of the reasons that those deficiencies persist. This is one this is a start to this one section, of working together collaboratively, the town and the state, to at least fix this eastern part of that corridor. So hopefully there will be another project that will come along that will, address some of those issues like the tire wells that Mary was talking about, and the stormwater drainage and the access management and all the rest of it further to the west or the north. So, but, I think, this can only really be a good project because this corridor does have so many problems, and we have to start somewhere. So I think that this is a laudable start, so thanks.
Anyone else in the community that has? Oh, I see you. Come on up.
Debbie Matt, Bennington. I was curious as to how old the traffic study is that was done at these 3 locations. And by that I mean, was it done 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And is there a timeline on how long that info is good for? You know what I mean? Like, you can only use it up to 5 years from the time you do it, or, And I do feel that the new lights at the intersection by McDonald's is a big improvement from what we had there, because you get the light, you're not sitting there a long time, and the light changes frequently to let cars go through there. And if the traffic is backed up on Northside Drive from that red light down to the roundabout by Walmart, some people have no patience, and they come sucking up Hicks Avenue to get to the red light to get out first. And I don't know if that would have an impact on a roundabout at that intersection.
I have to comment on that one because it's an interesting observation about people using Hicks Avenue, because I've seen it happen too. I like to think that I've never tried to do it myself, but I can tell you that it doesn't work. So people that try to bypass that traffic by cutting down Hicks Avenue, even if they speed, and they certainly should never do that, are going to get down, next to McDonald's and go up to the intersection and get stuck at a light and watch all those cars that they were waiting behind go right past in front of their nose. So I hear you, and if anybody out there tries to do that maneuver, don't do it. It doesn't work.
I can be responsive to the question about traffic data. We did take a new count in 2024 to inform the study. And then, like I said earlier, we took that data and accounted for what we anticipate as future growth, and those projections were included in the analysis as well. So we looked at 2 different time frames, basically existing conditions and what we observed, and adjusted to make sure that we're accounting for sort of all times of year, and then a future condition that was accounting for anticipated growth.
I'll add that prior to any sort of design that we undertake, we take additional counts then as well. Generally speaking, projections are, fairly decent, but depending on the area of the state, they can be a little bit off. So we do take updated counts prior to and during the design phase as well.
Anyone else in the audience tonight? Is there anyone online, Jonah? Okay. Anything else, Nancy?
Yeah. I'd like to go back to Northside Drive. Anybody who's paid attention when you leave the Walmart Plaza, at least up to McDonald's, if you've been in there in the rain, you can feel your tires in those tracks, like Mary said. You can see where parts of those roads are heaving. I would think that's going to have to get addressed in 5 or 6 years. That's only going to get worse. Once the road starts to crack and water gets under there, you can see where there's already been some little patches. And I knew people had problem, the businesses, but hearing Ed at the last time we talked about it, he said the businesses have to deal with the water and the mud. To me, this should have been a priority years ago. I sure hope that people aren't going to have to wait 10 years plus to have those issues addressed. But none of that is included in the price we've heard?
Well, he did just say that he expects that the state will undertake, or he hopes that the state would undertake some repaving in that area as part of their normal maintenance schedule.
Well, I think they're going to need more than blacktopping. I think they're going to have to dig the whole thing up and redo it.
Tom, could I point out that that is not before the board this evening?
Yeah, that's actually valid. But it is a good point, Nancy, and it does need to be done, but it's not.
I guess I'm kind of surprised. If this has been looked at for 20 years, why didn't anybody make Northside Drive a priority?
Well, I mean, Northside Drive has been a priority, and the issue that you're talking about and that Mary noticed, and we talked about at the last meeting, and as Dan just noted, isn't part of this project. But it is a real serious issue, and it's a problem because that was an old rural highway that never had a real stormwater drainage system attached to it. So it's been a problem for way more than 20 years, Nancy, and it's going to be a problem until a comprehensive stormwater system is put in there. It's one of the reasons that we put in the town plan that it's something that the town and the state should cooperate on in the future. So I agree that's an important point, and it's something that needs to be addressed. But again, as Dan said, it's not part of this project. At least this part of the project, the drainage will be taken care of.
I would also assume that this isn't the last improvement we'll make to this stretch of road either. Those improvements will continue in 30 years and in 40 years, but just this is the one that we're considering now.
All right, anyone else? All right, then I myself am comfortable voting for the preferred alternative. So I will call the question. All those in favor of accepting the preferred alternative?
Do you need, is that a motion? Do you need a second?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Could I please have a motion to accept the preferred alternative as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the preferred alternative as presented.
And a second, please?
I will second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
And any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming back this evening and answering our questions.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, next item on the agenda, we have Shannon Barsati, Gage Street Recovery Housing final public hearing.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction here, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mary Cohen from Cornerstone Housing Partners. We also have Laura and Ralph here from Turning Point, and they'll talk more about this project. So the town of Bennington received $1 million from the state of Vermont for a grant under the Vermont Community Development Program for the Gage Street Recovery House. I believe it's called the Paradise House now. And this was subgranted to Shires Housing for the housing redevelopment. And Shires Housing has now merged with the Housing Trust of Rutland County and NeighborWorks of Western Vermont, and is called Cornerstone Housing Partners. So this is the final public hearing about how the funds were used to further community development. These funds were used to accomplish the following activities that you're going to learn more about. To rehabilitate 2 units of transitional housing for men recovering from substance use disorder. Within the 2 units, 9 beds were created for people with low or moderate income, with 1 bed for a live-in house manager. In order to meet these objectives, 9 people should be served, and 3 of those need to transition to permanent housing. And these goals were met this year on September 30th. So I'm going to hand it over to Mary for the brief presentation. And essentially tonight is really just to open it up to the public so that everyone knows how the funds were used and to ask any questions.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm really sorry that I'm not there in person. It's not nearly as fun looking at the screen as being in the room with all of you. A lot of the slides that I have, Shannon really just summarized, so my presentation will be really brief, and we can get to Laura, who has probably more information that's really interesting. So if you want to go to the next. This has been a partnership with Paradise Recovery House, for Paradise Recovery House with Turning Point of Bennington County and Cornerstone Housing Partners. Go again. The funding consisted of several sources. We had 2 different buckets from VHCB. Some were ARPA funds. Oh, can you go back just for a sec? Thank you. Some general funds. We also had 2 buckets from Vermont Community Development Program. We had a block grant, and we also had some recovery housing programming grant funds. We also received resources from the Vermont Department of Health, Substance Abuse Recovery Funds, and when we put energy efficiency measures into the home, we did earn some energy incentives. The total project was $2.565 million. Thank you. The scope of work, new windows, new roofing, new siding and trim. There was an ADA ramp that was built and put in. There's also paved driveway and parking. On the interior, there was a pretty extensive gut job. There's the energy efficiency measures, air sealing, and lots of insulation. There are new kitchens, appliances, and laundry rooms, all new flooring. There is an ADA accessible room, and all the mechanicals, the heating, etc., are all new. So we have some pictures. This is the exterior, obviously on a beautiful sunny day in Bennington. We can keep going, yep. And here are some of the interior shortly before people were moved in. So we do have restrictions. There are 9 beds. There is a requirement that we have 80% of area median income below, and at least 3 beds will house 50% of area median income, and 1 bed that is dedicated for somebody who is 30% of area median income. And as Shannon had said, there are really 2 units. There is 1 bed for a manager on site. And as of September 30th, we have met the annual goals. 16 men have lived there, 3 moved to permanent housing, which is really great. 8 are currently living there, and 5 have left the program. So now we can probably turn it over to Laura if she's there.
I'm not Laura. I'm Ralph.
Sorry.
It's okay, Mary.
Is that Ralph?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ralph.
That's okay.
It's Laura.
The first thing I'd like to say, this was a very long and tedious journey that we all made together. And I say together because a lot of people, I know Dan and Shannon were there from the beginning with us. Of course, Shires and 2 or 3 different administrations, and now Mary and her team. And the one thing I want to say to the community is this is what can happen when agencies get together and listen to each other and actually go forward with a plan. And it wasn't always easy, but it's really turned into a very nice program. I believe we're an asset to the community. The men that live there, I always like to say that they pay their membership fees to us to live there. This isn't something where the state or the federal government is paying for them to stay there. They get jobs when they come into our program. We have had a couple of residents that have come in and have been on disability, and they have paid, through their check that way to their membership fees. But even those gentlemen will do volunteer work, sometimes at the Turning Point or other nonprofit agencies in town. Within a week of most of them coming in, they are employed in Bennington, which I've been very happy with our community to be welcoming like that and helping these guys get on their feet and get a path to recovery. I've been very happy with the 3 that moved back with wives and children. And another guy who's after September, but he left and got married and currently lives in Bennington. and they're all working in Bennington, so it's been a really nice piece. And of course, on the treatment side, they stay clean and sober, which is what we want at Turning Point. We want to be able to help them and to continue that with them. So it's been a really, really nice partnership with Cornerstone and with other agencies that help us in the treatment that we give to this population. We look forward to hopefully opening up another house at a time in Bennington as we currently need it. We always have a wait list. I have, I think it's 11 guys right now that are on our wait list that are looking for sober living in our area. So it's a continued need. That's it.
Could you please give your full name and your organization for
Sure.
Nancy?
Ralph Bennett. I'm the Director of Recovery Housing and Corrections at Turning Point.
And that's the end of our presentations? Okay. Any questions from the board? We'll start. Clark?
Ralph, correct? Is that you? Yeah. Just for my own edification, are these folks formerly incarcerated? I thought you said with correct you're somehow...
Well, part of what I also do, they asked me what my title was. I also work with probation and parole here in town. We do have some gentlemen that come out of Department of Corrections. We don't take any violent offenders or anybody with any sexual crimes or any arson crime. It's usually as drug or alcohol.
Your program, is this part of their conditional release also, that they must be involved in this program, those people you do receive from the correction system?
Well, that's part of our agreement with them as a member. They have to go to 2 to 3 recovery-based meetings in town. They have to have a recovery coach, which we assign from Turning Point. If there are any other conditions where they need therapy or MAT programming, which is medication-assisted treatment for whatever substance they may have been addicted to, we do all that within our community agencies.
But you're not involved with the Department of Corrections and parole and their requirements for these folks who are being released? This is freestanding?
They handle that piece. If we have somebody that comes in probation, we have a very good relationship. I'm at probation and parole 4 times a week. We run substance use disorder groups at probation and parole. We do 4 groups a week for women and 2 groups a week for men.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to clear that in my mind, that
Sure.
2 separate entities. Thank you for your time and your help. Thank you.
Nancy?
I just want to clarify, there's 9 beds at the house for clients and 1 for the person who supervises?
Yes, we have staff in our program 24 hours a day. There's a live-in manager that also lives there.
And some of the people come from outside of Bennington?
I think we've had 1 from a bordering town in New York, but the rest are Vermonters or Bennington.
So if people come from outside Bennington to stay at the house, when they finish, are they going back to the towns they came from?
The one gentleman that I had from New York is still with us. He kind of likes Bennington, so he's kind of found a home here. A lot of times people that struggle with substance use disorder look for a different area than maybe where they came from, so they can get a fresh start and not be around the same triggers that might have, made it harder for them to stay clean and sober.
And Shannon, when this was announced a few years back, I remember you had a $1 million grant. Half would start the house on North Street, half on Gage Street. What I see now is it's a $1 million grant that just went to Gage Street. Was that $1 million to purchase and the rest was all renovations?
I think Mary can answer that better than me. I know that over time, this is pretty common with grants that are for housing, especially with rising costs, that you might put in an application. The application is put in by the town in partnership with whoever's getting the sub-grant award. But I believe that in this case, there was an amendment, to ask for additional funds. Some of those may have come out of that bucket that Mary mentioned of recovery housing funds that were specific to this kind of a project. And I don't think anything was used for the purchase of the property. I think it was more for the renovation, but Mary might be able to give an answer on that.
Actually, I don't have a lot of history with this and when it started and where the buckets, exactly the buckets of funding go. Typically, the VHCB funding is targeted for acquisition. I don't know off the top of my head, and I don't have that information here in front of me, but happy to get any additional information or clarification for you.
Yeah, I'd like to know the total cost for the renovations, and I think I know roughly remember what the purchase price or what it was assessed for. In the time that the house has been open, have there been any issues where you need to have the Bennington Police Department come to the house?
No.
Haven't had the police department at all?
Probation and parole have come to remove a client at one point. I'm not sure if the police are out front or not, but we haven't had to call the police ourselves for any.
I guess I would like the board to at least know if there are any issues. I know that many people were concerned with it being located across the street from the rec center with all the kids and seniors and anybody else, so I think we should, hopefully there won't be any issues. If there are, I would like the board to be contacted.
Anything else? Okay. Anyone else? Jackie?
Hi. I hear often from folks around town the need for recovery supports and services that help address individuals that are in the throes of addiction in this community. So I just want to express some gratitude for the work you've all done. I think it's fantastic. Whether you're treating folks from town here or if it's folks coming from outside, I just think it's wonderful that there are more examples of strong, positive recovery in this community, because I think that's really needed. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is a Shannon question, in keeping one of my standard requests. So this ongoing grant process, has this all just been passed through, or what is your department or your town finance department, town manager's office, have they had any involvement in monitoring how this grant has been managed?
So, as I mentioned, when there is an application that's going before community development, in general, those funds are usually for housing. These are coming from housing and urban development at the federal level. So the sub-applicant, in this case it was Shires Housing, so it was before Mary came on board, approached the town. And my role is to help facilitate with all of that grant agreement process, which is extensive, right? So then anytime that there's an applicant that just even applying for that grant comes before the select board, there's a resolution to go ahead and make the application. We had a public meeting. It was a while back. I think it might have been even been during COVID times, because I remember it was virtual, and we had a lot of the folks like Turning Point and others who were involved. And then I monitor, all of the requisitions for the funds. So the sub-grantee will have to show, it's a reimbursement process, so they have to show, here's the funds that we've spent. They submit that to me, and it's put into the online portal and approved by the town before then it's finally approved by the state. So there's multiple, checks that are happening. And the way that our finance department is involved is that I write a memo to the finance director and to the treasurer, as well as, there's other assistants involved, so that everyone knows the amount of money that's flowing to the town and then to the sub-grantee. Hopefully that answers your question.
That does, and again, pointing over toward Mr. Monks and all, it goes back with my mindset about the idea of us establishing a policy for some sort of management fee/reimbursement for your efforts and other departments' efforts on managing these long-term projects like this. Thank you.
And that's a good point, Claire. I did want to mention, I think we do have a policy now that our finance director implemented, or with the select board's approval, that we do ask for a $5,000 audit fee. So that's included in any grant that's coming through community development. I believe this grant was before that policy.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I understand. I think Mr. Hurd and I had discussed that $5,000 audit as a standing requirement, but I'm saying an internal policy, because it sounds like there's an ongoing involvement of town staff and facilities to administer these grants. So, and I would hope that we could possibly recoup some of the administrative costs the town incurs in providing these services. But thank you.
Hey, just another quick question. Ralph, one more question. And it's good to hear the numbers. You said you had 16 total in the program, 5 left. Did they leave the area? Did they decide it wasn't for them?
No, they didn't leave the area. 3 were incarcerated back under violation of probation, and 2, I believe, went back to rehab.
Okay.
I don't have the numbers in front of me. If somebody has a slip or drinks or uses while they're in our house, we always give them the alternative to go back into treatment at Valley Vista or Serenity House, and hopefully we're able to get them back to the house.
No, it's just helpful to have the numbers.
Oh, sure.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Please come and see the house, Nancy. It's really nice. Come and see it.
Saw the Christmas lights, they look great.
No, that's next door.
Oh, I thought you had all the lights out in front.
All right, anyone, any questions from the public? All right, do you need anything from us tonight, Shannon? All right, very good. Thank you very much, everyone. Good
Thank you
work.
for the opportunity. Merry Christmas.
We hope to see you down here sometime
Mary.
soon. All right, item 7, renewal of YMCA management agreements.
Tom, could I need to recuse myself on this matter because I have a conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we're talking about the renewal of the YMCA management agreement. And at the last meeting, I believe, the YMCA was here to talk about their programming, and so they gave an overview of all of the programs that they're doing in Bennington, as well as how they've expanded programming for youth and seniors in particular. So this is really just focused on these management agreements, the overall agreement with the Recreation Center, and then more recently with the Senior Center. So the Berkshire Family YMCA, part of that agreement, you have the full agreement in your packet, oversees all operations at the Bennington Recreation Center, including all staff and programs. And they provide a branch director who reports directly to the CEO of the Berkshire Family YMCA. That's Christian, who you met last time. All staff report directly to the branch executive director. So just so that everyone understands the difference, before the YMCA, it was all town staff who were doing all of the programming and running all of everything at the recreation center. Now, our town staff are maintaining the building, and so they're very involved in, obviously, the pool requires a lot of maintenance, but all of the programming is done by the YMCA. And part of that agreement, all of the above and everything that you have, the details of the agreement, is $12,000 per month for management of town recreation programs. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of that one, and then moving into the Senior Center, which is in a transition as we prepare for a new Senior Center space at Ben High. The Berkshire Family YMCA will oversee all operations of the Bennington Senior Center, including all staff and programs, and the town shall provide to the Berkshire Family YMCA $5,000 per month for management of senior programs. So that is, in a nutshell, what we're spending for these management agreements per month. And if you go into the next slide, Jonah, this gets into the overall costs. And I thought this was important to go back and look at our staffing when it was all town-run before the YMCA was involved. And so I had to go back to 2017 because in 2018, I see Jeannie Jenkins here. She's been part of the Y partnership from the beginning. 2018 was the first partnership with the Y where they ran some summer camps. So that was kind of a mix of town staff and Y staff. And then our overall management agreement, as we know it now, began in 2019. But 2017 was the year that the town was staffing and running all recreation at the recreation center. So that total cost, when we were running everything ourselves, was $413,000 for that year. And that was significant to me because looking at our management agreement now, which has not changed in cost since 2019, we are paying the Y annually $144,000. And as you saw at the last meeting, they have really greatly expanded our programming, but at a lower cost than when we were running the programs ourselves. If you want to go to the next slide. And then for the senior center, before the YMCA, which was not long ago, this was in 2024, the total cost, and this is just for administration, it's not the building costs of maintaining the senior center building, was $116,290. And after the YMCA, which is now, in 2025, the total cost for running those programs is $60,000. And as I mentioned, this agreement has not increased in cost since 2019 when we began this partnership, full partnership with the Y. And as far as next steps, the current agreement expires very soon at the end of 2025. So town staff recommend renewing the current agreement for another year in anticipation of Ben High opening. And the negotiations over that new agreement will begin soon, and we'll bring back a new agreement to you before that opening of Ben High. And I think that's all I have. I just thought we'd start with that, and if you have any other questions about the management agreement or this proposal.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with the board. Clark.
I heard what you said, but I want to make sure the public is aware that we are getting more for our money than we have historically during this contract. I know budget season's coming up, and I know everybody's Christmas shopping and looking in their wallets and saying, what can I get for less? We're already there. So I just want to make clear to the public that we're getting services for a lot less than what the prices of life have cost us for other things.
Yes.
Nancy?
A lot of people are aware that I've tried to just follow the money since about 2018 or 19. Before the Y took over, the Pool and Rec Center were generating $100,000 a year in memberships and day passes. They would have been generating more, but the select board, for at least 10 years, never raised any of the prices. And how it was explained the first year, I think it was 2020 or 2019, late 2019, we were paying the Recreation Department $300,000 a year. The Y would pay half, and we would pay half. We'd save $150,000. But what we didn't understand, the Y would get to use the $100,000 being generated. All they needed was a couple of grants, and that allowed them to keep all the sales from the rec center and the pool. Because we pay them to be at the rec center, they're out getting grants. I believe many of those grants leave the rec center. Some go to other towns, and that's the part that concerns me. We have other towns benefiting. They don't have to pay out of their budget for the Y to be there, so we need to find some way to compensate us. I believe the Y is getting a lot of grants for the schools. It's great for the kids, but the school doesn't pay out of their budget either. So a lot of this is coming on the back of the town taxpayers, and I just think we have to find a fair way so something can come back. A lot of people don't realize our town owns the rec center and pool. Our taxpayers pay all the bills like they have for 50 years. The utilities, the maintenance, the upkeep, the insurance, the plowing, the mowing. The Y doesn't have that worry. So I think we have to have it be a lot more equitable, and all the numbers need to be public. I was disappointed I couldn't be at the last meeting. I was ill. There weren't any numbers. I mean, I'd like to see how much are they making in memberships, day passes. That's something the Recreation Department used to have in the town budget. How much are they getting in grants each year? Where are the grants going? I mean, the more information we have, I think the more we can try to balance this out. But I do have concerns. We're being asked to sign 2 contracts that end in December next year, correct?
They actually end this month, in just a few days. That's when they're expiring. So we just want to be able to renew them as we renegotiate a contract before Ben High.
But aren't these ending next December or no?
No, this December.
Oh, I thought we were going to approve contracts for next year to run through December. Huh?
That is the proposal, yes, to extend
Okay.
these for up to 1 year. If for some reason the Ben High project finishes ahead of schedule, which we don't expect that to happen, then we would have a different agreement at that point.
I would question why we need a contract for the senior center. We've not had one this year. The Y's been getting paid $5,000 a month for most of the years, or most of the year. I did try to get the board to talk about it, and they didn't want to. So if we didn't need a contract this year, why do we need a contract next year?
So Nancy, I can answer that. There is one, we could simply go month to month if the board felt comfortable with that. Obviously, that gives both parties ultimate flexibility. So I think I'm not opposed to that. I mean, from a staff standpoint, I don't see the why abandoning us, and I certainly don't think we have the ability to get programs up and running for both the rec center and the senior center before Ben High is open. So I don't think it really makes a significant difference whether we do a full 1-year extension or just go month to month. I don't think there's any issue with that if that makes the board feel more comfortable.
Well, the point I'm getting to, and I don't care what happened in the past, I don't want it to happen in the future. The contract we're looking at says January 1st of 2023. If you look where it's signed, it never was signed until June of 2023. Our first three-year contract ended in 2022. For the next 5 months, we had no contract. But the taxpayers were paying the Y each month. They were getting grants. They were keeping all the money. And I did come before the board and say, look, the contract ran out in December. This should not be happening without a contract.
So Nancy, it's just like any other contract that expires. You then go month to month, and either party can leave the arrangement at any time. So,
but Dan, it wasn't month to month. It got signed in June, and then it got backdated to January. This is not how the select board used to do business.
there was a previous agreement that was extended through that period of time.
And it was, I was at the meetings, the board voted to approve a 3-year contract. They said there'd be a discussion before it was up if anybody had questions or concerns. There was no discussion. The contract ended, and for the next almost over 5 months, we have to make sure we have contracts. And the concern I have on this is over and over I'm reading, I'm not seeing the financial. The budgets will get approved by the town manager. I think the select board should also be able to see the budgets and approve it. I keep reading we're going to have operational and management information. We need to have the financial information also.
Well, Nancy, that is something that we can share. You know, we can get that information and share. I know that part of that agreement is that when there is a surplus at the Bennington branch of the YMCA, they put those funds into reserve, and we did ask for that number to see, you know, over the last 3 years, which years have they had a surplus, which is not every year. I mean, you know, the management agreement has remained flat, but they're not, you know, if you look at the financials, there's some years that they've done better than others. You know, they're not always making money. And so that reserve account, as I said, I looked at the 2022 and 2023, and the total reserve that was generated is then put into an account that goes for improvements in Bennington, not to other towns.
No, that was all explained at the beginning. My question is, and they explained it, so if something happened like COVID again, they'd have some money to fall back on. Do we have that account in the town?
Do we have what account in the town?
Do we have that extra reserve fund set aside?
They have the reserve in an account for Bennington, and they're going to be using it for improvement or equipment and any needs that they have as Benton High is being fit out, and that's $46,479 that they have in a reserve bank account.
And Jenny, maybe you can share last year's results, which were not so rosy, and we did not have to.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned that Kayla in particular has been really successful in getting grant funding, and they've partnered now with the SVSU, and they're part of this 21st Century Learning Grant, which is great. That's separate from the town. But the other grants around recreation have really dried up, and I think that was part of the reason that they did have a loss in 2024 of, it's a little over 75,000 in a loss. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea that it's not, this is how it is right now with grants. So there's times that you're doing really well, but that's not right now.
But I know,
That's
I know
not the way it is.
The Y is in Pownell and Shasberry. And when I heard they were in Pownell, I called their town office a couple of years ago to say, what is it costing out of your town budget? They said it's not costing us anything. I didn't call Shasberry, but again, if we weren't paying the Y in Bennington, and if they weren't able to use our pool, I understand they're managing and all that, but they wouldn't be able to generate these grants to benefit other towns in the school system. I called the school system, do you have to pay out of your budget? No, we're getting the grants. So there's a lot of grant money going around, and I think by now we should see the cost going down to what our taxpayers in Bennington are paying to have the Y run the rec center.
But I just told you that they actually have lost money in 2024. So there's not a lot of grant money going around.
And I think we need to look at membership prices. Again, when they took over, the board hadn't raised any prices in 10 years. They were already incredibly affordable. When I look at what they're charging kids through 19, the memberships are being given away. I mean, $27 a year, that's 50 cents a week.
Well, I agree with you. I think that should be part of the board's discussion, particularly before Ben High opens, and there's this, greatly expanded recreation opportunities that you can look at rates. But that isn't really what we're talking about today. We're talking about the management agreement with the Y that we have right now and extending that as we renegotiate before Ben High.
And are we still paying, is the town still paying $3,000 a month to help rent Catamount?
Yes, that is also something that we're doing to have that ability to expand recreation. And those funds will go over to Ben High when that space is open.
Well, when I was talking to the Y a few months ago at Catamount, they told me they're planning on staying there to use the gym after the Ben High opens.
If they do that, Nancy, that will be at their own cost. The town will not be paying anything for for that particular facility.
Because they're also, the town, I don't know how many years it's been now that the Y has been renting the space at the Bennington Sports Center, the old Catamount School. But so the town has contributed $3,000 a month for expanded recreation programs. But the Y is also on their own, without the town's support, putting in $6,000 a month for that space. So, they are using some of their own funds aside from what the town is supporting that space.
So when it said we're paying $144,000, we're paying more. We're paying the $36,000, and what you had up for the senior, what we paid the seniors for the town versus the Y, I will question that because I've been watching the budgets closely for 4 years. If you want to go back to the slide.
That's in the 2024 town report. That's where that number comes from. The next one, Jonah. That's where I got that number.
Well, I would question that. That was, I'll look back at what I have at home, because what we were paying senior building and everything, all the utilities bills and the person running it, it used to run around $120, $130 a year. So I'm surprised to see.
It's actually even more. That's only the administrative cost.
That doesn't include the building
That doesn't
costs.
include the building cost. The building cost is about $40,000 more
But
a
I'm
year.
saying, well, what we were, when you could look in, it was all split up. We were paying about $130,000 a year, the building and the person that ran it. We only have one person at the senior building, so I don't know how we were paying that person $116,000 a year.
Well, it was, when I say administrative costs, it's like, it's kind of like the community development budget. Most of it is salaries for me and Jonah, but we do have other costs. We have, printing costs. We have, meetings. We have trainings. We have, in the case of the senior center, all the actual programming, like supplies, et cetera. So that's what that $116,000 is. It's not only salaries, but it is, the highest part of it is salary and budget. Salary and benefits.
And then, the Ben High, the rest of the board voted in January, our taxpayers are going to pay close to $400,000 a year. That's to pay to rent the gym and the addition. The Y will be in charge. That's an awful lot to ask, and the board doesn't have voter approval, so that needs to be addressed. But I don't think you'd find many towns where the taxpayers would be paying that huge amount of money. And the Y, when they do collect the money from people paying and groups using the gym and the addition, the Y is going to be keeping that money too. So everybody on the board needs to step up, and we need to start looking at the numbers.
And we can do that. I think if you want to come and sit down and look at the Y's last few years of financials, we can do that at the town office.
Well, and I think it would be good for the public to see, are more people using the rec center?
There was this pretty comprehensive presentation at the last meeting that did talk about increased use, so that was addressed.
Well, I did see, and I meant to pull out the town report, about 600 adults, to see how many adults we've had going in years past. But again, to me, this should all be in the town report. There's nothing that should be secretive. I just think we need to find a way to get more money coming back to the town. When you look at all the towns in the school systems, they're all benefiting. They don't have to pay out of their budgets. That's why Bennington needs some more help.
Jackie?
Thank you. I agree that we should all do our due diligence here. I was just doing some math on the back of my sheet here based on what they collected in membership fees last year, which was $216,000 something. And if we go back one slide, it looks like before the YMCA took over, the town was spending $413,000, and so if I subtract the membership fees from that $413,000, that's still more than the $144,000 we're paying now. So I think, based on the presentation 2 weeks ago, it seems to me that without all the additional services that the Y has added to their offerings, all the new programs, their membership fees wouldn't be that high anyway, right? And so I think we're really getting a lot of value for what we're providing here, and I hope to see that continue when Ben High opens. But as of right now, I'm in favor of letting this contract continue for the next year.
But I'm saying we were told that 413, we were told it was 300,000. And if you take the 100,000 that we were making from the pool and the rec center, that knocks it down. The board hadn't raised prices.
But that's membership fees, right?
But again, it doesn't bother you that our taxpayers are paying? We're paying to fund the rec center, and so many groups are benefiting and not paying anything.
I think we were paying either way, and we're paying less now than we would have otherwise, and I'm really glad that our community has the rec center as a resource.
And
Sarah, then you, Clark.
Yeah, just hearing from both of you what you're saying, and Jackie, if there's what they say, the math is mathing right there, and from what you're saying.
And I know that because I did request, actually, the budgets from
right,
Dan about 2 weeks ago.
and looking at this, and then we're hearing from what you're saying, looking at this contract, and I'm in favor of just re-upping this, and then when Ben High is done, looking forward to that, looking at the contract again. I'm in favor of this.
Can I get that voter approval first?
To echo both Jackie and Sarah's position, I think we're getting a good deal here, and I think some of the points, Nancy, you're making might be confusing some issues. The Y operates here, the Y and Bennington operate over here, and we can't conflate the two as the same. What the Y is doing in other towns and their financial benefits through grants or other funding sources, in my mind, aren't germane to what we're discussing here. Because again, they're a separate entity and they have multiple areas of operation that don't impact us. I think the people of Bennington are getting a good deal. We subsidize membership for our people. And from what I understood, even the Y people say for those who are truly in need, they make exceptions for them too, regardless if they're Bennington or non-Bennington citizens. You know, I'm the world's worst mathematician,
But Clark,
I'll take Jackie's numbers and what I'm hearing and reading up there to be positives, and I can't see any reason to not support this.
But Clark, do you understand? The Y is in Bennington County because we're paying them to be here. We are making it so that they can go and get to the grants, to be in other towns, to be in the school system. If we weren't paying them to be at the rec center, they wouldn't be anyplace else.
I can't make that statement because I know they operate out of North Adams and other places. I'm just saying that I think you're conflating the fact that Y is a freestanding organization that has their own function business-wise, and then there's the Y that has a relationship with the town of Bennington. They are not the same. I'm not going to turn around and say, well, you're doing well in your other endeavors, so I think our relationship needs to be somehow altered to your detriment. You know, they and I remember Mr. Hurd on more than one occasion saying pretty much the better things are for here in Bennington, our people, the better it is for the Y. So if the Y is getting a positive benefit out of our relationship, I don't have a problem with that, especially since there are other areas in town or in the state that are benefiting from the Y on a good standing. So it's kind of a, we're in this together. Just because, you know, I crossed the line in Pownell, I don't think those people are less deserving of good opportunities than people in Hoosick Fall or whatever. But here in the town of Bennington, my opinion, from what I'm saying and hearing, the Y is doing a good job for the people of Bennington. And if they are benefiting from that, you know, being the gross capitalist I am, I don't have a problem with that either. But they're not hurting the people of Bennington, and they're not depriving the people of Bennington of any opportunities. As a matter of fact, by those numbers, you know, we're doing well. I mean, everything I own costs more this year than last year or the year before. So the fact that we're getting these services from the Y at lesser cost than what's been going on across the board, I'm hard pressed to think of a negative to continuing our relationship with them.
And they did talk about at the presentation a couple weeks ago that they have contracts with North Bennington. They have contracts with Shasberry and with Pownell. And if they're able to, through those contracts, fund the programs they're offering through grants, well, great for them. You know, I don't think those grants would have been available without those contracts and those partnerships, but I don't think that has any kind of bearing on us. Are they in this area because they made an agreement with Bennington? Sure, but I don't think that you should conflate that they have contracts with other schools as somehow being a detriment to the people of Bennington. It's just they're serving the children of the communities that need those services, and if the grant money is available, as Shannon said, grant money is going away right now across the board. If they're able to take advantage of that and provide those services to those children, I'm all for it. Anything else from the board?
Prepared to make a motion.
Let's hear from the public if anyone has anything to say.
sorry.
Is your hand up or are you stretching? Okay, come on up.
Debbie Matt, Bennington. How do I put this? I believe that the Y, from what I know, is a great service for the children of Bennington. How can I politely put this? That a lot of the kids don't have good home lives and proper supervision, and hopefully what the Y is doing for these kids will help to keep them on the straight and narrow. But I don't think they're good for the senior center. So that's my opinion and several other people's opinion. And to get to the other page here, I was wondering if I could get a breakdown of the $413,000, exactly what that's paying as opposed to the $144,000 that the Y is getting, so that I know that comparing apples to apples.
Well, Deb, I think we should do a follow-up meeting. I actually do have the $413,000. This was the town's budget for recreation, but I haven't done a side-by-side of how the $144,000 is spent. But I could do that if you want to do a follow-up meeting. Yeah.
And I think we need to remember that that was from 2017.
And it was from 2017.
So if we were to apply an inflation factor, it'd be significantly higher.
Yeah.
But we were told in 2017 it was 300,000, so.
I'm not sure where that number's coming from. I mean, the only thing I could think of is maybe in 2018, as I mentioned, that budget started to, that town, what was paying town employees went down somewhat because the Y took over the summer camp in 2018, but the Y did not take over all of the recreation staff until 2019.
And another thing, the very first contract that would have been 2017, 2018, the first 3-year contract, and I've got it at home someplace, gave a total breakdown. We were paying the Y, it showed how many hours a week they were at the rec center during the week, how many hours on the weekend. And it was nice to see that breakdown. You could really see what you were paying for. This is pretty general now.
Anything else from the public? All right, I'd be happy to hear a motion.
I'll do the first motion for the first contract, or sorry, first management agreement
Can we
for.
take them together?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that.
I'm looking at you, Dan.
Yeah, certainly you can. Yep.
Okay.
If it's the same motion to extend them by a certain period of time, I think it's perfectly appropriate to
I
include
just
them.
wasn't sure how people felt about.
You could see if you get 4 votes, I guess.
see.
Sure, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, I was just going to make the motion to accept the Berkshire Family YMCA's management agreement of overseeing the operations of the Bennington Rec Center. That was my first motion.
I second that.
2 more quick questions.
Okay, further discussion. Go ahead.
On the first page, down near the bottom, participate in joint capital fundraising efforts with the town and community partners for proposed future facility expansions. So has the Y brought in any money for work at the rec center? Did the Y bring any money in for the Ben High?
So the
They
Y,
go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say the Y has obtained multiple grants with regard to the rec center.
Yeah. And at the sports center. They just started, they opened, you weren't here at the last meeting, Nancy, but Kayla talked about how they now have early childhood care and infant care, and so they received a $50,000 grant for that specific program. That's just an example. As far as more traditional fundraising outside of grants, the other thing that they spoke about is how they are building a Bennington committee and more board members from Bennington, and that Bill Colvin has just joined them as a board member. Bill Colvin from Bennington is now a member of the
And
Birch
that was the
family
other concern.
board.
We should have had people on the board of directors when we had our first contract, whatever year it started, in 2019, and we've never had anybody on the board of directors. I think they have 15 on their board, and North Adams basically went out of business a year and a half ago. So I think we need local people on the board, not people with a lot of ties to county and regional groups, local people, so we can focus on Bennington.
Well, and that is something that the previous executive director, Jess Rumlow, was talked about from the beginning. It's, you can't force people to join a board, but I think now that, however many, 5 or 6 years later, people can see the success of the Y, and hopefully more Bennington folks will join their board.
They did express that they'd welcome that participation.
And another thing on page 2, right above additional agreements, the next one up, it says, "The Select Board will allow the Berkshire Family Y to participate in an annual fundraising campaign that will be guided by the Y leadership team to provide additional financial support to the communities served by the Bennington Rec Center." So does that mean they can go out and fundraise because we have them at the rec center to raise money for other towns and groups?
No, this would be to fundraise for Bennington programs.
I'm sorry?
This would be to fundraise for Bennington-specific programs.
Okay, because it says community served, so it doesn't say the town of Bennington. I didn't know if they'd be raising money to take to other towns.
Wait, it's...
Oh, is that a question? I'm saying, I know that the agreement is very specific, that if there's any surplus, like I said, in Bennington, it stays in Bennington, and it's put, for now, into a reserve account for Ben High.
But can they give it off to a different group?
No. They can't take funds from Bennington for another, not that are, they can't take funds that the town is giving them and give them to another group. Those are for Bennington.
So Nancy, to answer your question explicitly, if they fundraise on their own and they choose to perhaps subsidize membership from somebody who happens to need it because they're from Shasbury and they don't have enough income to pay for a membership, yes, they can use funds they have raised on their own to subsidize that particular individual, so long as it is a rec center function. So that answer to your question is yes, they can use their own funds that they have raised to help other folks who just don't happen to live in Bennington.
To attract them to Bennington?
Yes.
Right. And there is that aspect. I mean, I do understand what you're saying, Bennington, Nancy, about Bennington and other towns, and how, it is something to consider talking to other select boards about, creating a fund for, folks from Shaftesbury or Pownell to use the rec center. But I think the other side of that is that, when we have people who come here, especially once we have this awesome new facility at Ben High, people who are going to come there are also going to go, okay, we're in Bennington, let's go out to eat, let's do some shopping. I mean, it is a driver for economic development as well, to have people from other towns come to our town.
But Shannon, just a reminder, those folks will pay the full YMCA rate versus
Yes.
the heavily subsidized Bennington rate.
Right.
So if those folks are coming from out of town, they are paying the full YMCA rate.
I'm just, and I just want to recognize that we are a hub for other smaller towns around us, but that is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's just interesting, and I haven't talked to city officials in North Adams and Pittsfield for several years, but they each had their own Y for 100 years like we did until ours closed. And I called them before we had the first contract thinking they already did this. And official after official said, no, we don't pay the Y to run our facilities. We all do it ourselves. So I just find it interesting. If this is such a win-win in Bennington, why North Adams and Pittsfield haven't done it?
That's an excellent question. They should look into that.
Yeah, they should use Bennington's role model.
Huh?
They should use us as a role model.
Clark, you know North Adams basically went out of business.
No, I understand.
I'd like to request
They're
a call
not-
vote.
We don't.
They're not,
So, well, other groups would say, how is it that's happening in Bennington?
but Clark, our agreement was basically with North Adams. They went out of business, Clark.
No, our agreement
was not.
was with the Y.
It was with the YMCA.
Huh?
Our agreement was with the private entity, the YMCA.
Point of order?
Every Y is their own private business. In Bennington, Vermont, we have a we have a YMCA from Massachusetts.
Chair, point of order?
Yep. What's your point of order?
We're off topic.
Thank you very much. Nancy, do you have any further questions directly related to, does anyone have any questions directly related to the contract before us?
Yeah, I'd need to have the contract that says all the financial numbers will be provided each year.
Anyone else? All right, then I will call the vote. All those in favor of extending the management agreement with the YMCA, or the agreement with the YMCA for 1 year regards to the rec center, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nope.
Any abstentions? And the motion carries. Do I hear a motion to extend the management agreement between the town of Bennington and the Berkshire YMCA in regards to the senior center?
I make a motion that we extend the current operating agreement for the senior center with the YMCA.
I second that.
For a period of?
1 year as stated in the
All right.
document.
Any discussion?
Sure. I tried to get this on agendas. When the Y took over the senior center, none of you would talk about it. So again, if you didn't feel you needed to vote on a contract for this year, why do you need a contract for next year?
We have a contract with them currently.
I'm sorry?
We have a contract with them currently. We have since.
We never discussed and voted to approve it.
There's a motion on the table now to approve it.
And it'll get approved tonight, and they'll backdate it to March, just like the contract I brought up. Business should not be done like this.
It will not be backdated till March. It will not be backdated till March. Both the contracts will begin on January 1st.
Anything else? All right, seeing nothing. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nope.
And in abstentions, the motion passes. Thank you very much, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, on to the manager's report.
Okay.
Mr. Monks.
Short and sweet this evening. In front of you, as Stuart would always say, you have your Christmas present. It's the proposed FY27 budget. So that will be some good reading over the next couple of weeks. The budget meetings are scheduled for Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to as far as 1 p.m. on January 3rd and the 10th, and if necessary, the 17th. Those will be held here, right here in this room, in the Firehouse, third floor meeting room. So again, that's 8 a.m. to possibly as long as 1 p.m. on January 3rd and the 10th, right here, with the 17th being a carryover if necessary. So we will make sure, obviously, to get that information out. I can say to you now, the budget, as well as the agency information, was posted online on the town's website today, before this afternoon. So anybody from the public who wishes to see the proposal, as well as the agency information that was submitted to the town, may do so. It is on the town's website. And obviously, if folks would like a hard copy, please let us know at the town office, and we can print that out for you.
Do they normally have the budget meeting that early in January?
Yes, the first, yep, it's usually
Okay,
the
it
first
doesn't
Saturday.
matter to me.
Yeah, no, I know. It does seem a little early, doesn't it?
Well, I'm
But-
just thinking if there are people on vacation with New Year's being, what, Thursday?
Yeah, it's just a couple days after, so. But yes, and the main reason we do that, Nancy, is we have to get the the budget approved and the warning done well before the end of January to meet our statutory deadlines for notice. So we do like to start early in January to get that done. That's all I have.
Okay, that was easy. Clark?
I still think, we had a discussion about Saturday morning versus the evening sessions for the budget, and I kind of thought we were going to come to some decision on that. I'm still of the belief that I think those evening meeting sessions might be a little more fruitful in terms of public participation or even watching it from outside than the 8 o'clock Saturday morning. So I don't know if that's something we want to discuss or
Yeah, and I did think about that, Clark, and the one thing I was having trouble reconciling that with is that we don't want to rush through these, and a lot of our fellow board members expressed that, yeah, if we have it in the evening, we don't want it to go too late. So I think we have a little more flexibility in terms of how long these meetings do go. If we have the morning meetings. As I said last meeting, I'm not a fan of morning meetings, but I think, unfortunately, based on conversations I had, with some other folks, that if we want to take the time that this process deserves, that we have to.
I understand rushed versus lack of participation. My main interest is increased participation and awareness, because as everyone in this table around the room knows, that Hannaford's or wherever we show is going to be like, what the hell are you doing with the budget? Or why'd you do this, right, that? And I say, well, where were you on Saturday morning?
Right.
At 8 o'clock, other than their basketball game or hockey game with their kid or something like that. So that's why I was thinking the evenings, I think, would be a little more, you give the public a greater chance to get involved. That's my main desire, to have greater public participation and involvement. And, I realize being rushed, it's Spanish. I don't have small children. I don't have a job. I have no life. I can sit here for 3 hours, on a Wednesday evening. And I have good DVD.
I will also say, I'm not opposed to evening meetings by any means, but I think that if we did want to do that, we should probably plan much further ahead, because we need to make sure that the staff members are available, because they're traditionally here on Saturday mornings for the budget. And also several of the agencies that I spoke to already have said, see you Saturday. So I think that it's perfectly appropriate to change those, but I would want to do those a couple months ahead of time versus, through 2 or 3 weeks before we traditionally have our meetings. So I'm not a big fan of Saturday morning meetings either, but I think it's a tradition and everybody's used to it, and if we want to change it, we should probably be a little bit more proactive in early fall.
As I recall, it's been about a month or so ago that this first came up, so it wasn't like we just threw it out last 2 weeks ago. I think this is something we've been talking about since October, I believe, at least.
Yeah, we actually discussed this last year. So this isn't anything new. When would be the first time? Could we do this like the 14th and 15th? Would that be?
I don't think that's enough time to do this.
You don't think that's enough time?
I would prefer to start earlier, but that is the board's decision.
Yeah.
It's just that as the longer we wait, the more we compress the time that we have to do the warning, the town meeting warning, the less time I have to review it with staff, the more likely mistakes will be made, because we do have to get it to the banner and to the public by late January. So I would prefer that we wrap this up sooner rather than later, just because it gives us time to make sure that mistakes aren't made. But it's really the board's decision if they want to postpone it.
How about we turn back the clock and say, okay, we talked about it last year, we talked about it this year. So this year we make a decision. As of next year's budget process, we'll be looking toward evening sessions. So folks will know in advance and we can work for there.
Maybe it could just be on a calendar, the town manager's calendar perhaps, to remind us to talk about this next October.
The first thing I'm going to do is put this on my calendar tomorrow, so we have plenty of time.
Well, we talked about it last October, and as Sarah saw, we talked about it last year. So, I'm just hoping that we can stop talking and put something, pen to paper, saying we're going to do this on these hours, on these days.
And I just, from my perspective, I don't have any problem with evening meetings. I'm also not a big fan of Saturday meetings. But I think that we have not been through one of these before, but it looks like they're scheduled for 4 or 5 hours. And I'm not doing a 4 or 5 hour meeting that starts at 6 o'clock at night. It becomes extremely unproductive after 9 o'clock. So we would have to have probably twice as many evening meetings.
That's why we started having them Saturday mornings, is because we could do it in 2 meetings as opposed to several evening meetings.
I think, that lead time too also, maybe folks be a little more focused. If you give somebody, your minutes take a mile. If you can let them talk about something for 20 minutes instead of getting to the point in 5 minutes. So, brevity might be an important thing too. As I think we should put this down for next year's, to not be at the last minute decision-making process. We spoke about it and a good lead time about establishing parameters and timeframes for these meetings.
All right, upcoming agenda. I don't have anything concrete at this point. I've heard from a couple folks from the community that would like to be here, but I still need to follow up on those. Jim, did you have anything from?
I did talk with Dan, had been in contact with some folks from the Bike Hub who wanted to get on an upcoming agenda, so I would like to get them on before too long.
Yep. Dan, do you have anything?
I do know a couple of things. The hazard mitigation plan that we reviewed several months ago went up to the state. They finally approved that, and the board, it has changed very minimally, but we'll have a presentation from BCRC on those minor changes. So the board will be asked to approve that hazard mitigation plan, hopefully on the 12th if it fits into the schedule. So that will be on the agenda if the chair and vice chair so please, or so will it to be. We also will have a request from the Southern Vermont, from SVMC regarding approval of a grant condition for their cancer center addition. I'll let the attorney for SVMC explain the details, but some of you will remember that the town of Bennington actually owns some of the land that the hospital sits on, and because of the grant requirement requires that the landowner acknowledge the grant and agree not to use it for any other purposes other than what the grant was given for over the life of the project. So not a big stretch given that the property is restricted to medical use in perpetuity, so I don't think that's going to be a big one, but I just want to make sure that folks know that's on the upcoming agenda.
Is that still owned by the hospital?
The land underneath some of the new cancer center was actually owned by the town of Bennington from a grant from many years ago.
Well, yeah, it's how Putnam set it up, right?
Yes, yep. So we can certainly have the attorneys explain, the attorney for SVMC explain how that works.
I knew with CLR there was a difference. I thought all the rest was still under the Putnam agreement.
So the property is under the Putnam agreement. It is owned by the town of Bennington, and the town of Bennington does have to sign off on the grant fund conditions for the cancer center with regard to this particular grant. Yeah, so that will be coming up. Another very small issue that will come up is the Energizer Sky Bridge. Apparently, the attorneys were unable to find an easement or license or any other document regarding that structure, and as part of the sale, Energizer is required to clear that up, and we'll have to take a look at that on the 12th as well. So it shouldn't be too big of a stretch to approve something that's been there for decades, but we'll be talking about that as well. And so,
do we want to have a brief discussion? At the last meeting, I heard you say the town has the money to get audio-visual equipment for the room for hybrid meetings.
If you look in that corner, the boxes have arrived, and we will be setting that up in the next few weeks.
How much did it cost?
I don't recall.
$1,000?
More than 1,000. I think it was several thousand, but it was...
More than 5,000?
I don't know. I think it was right about 5,000, but off the top of my head, I can't tell you. I can certainly, if you call me tomorrow. Jonah, do you recall? Yeah. But you recall that we discussed having funds available to do that, and we thought we would do it sooner rather than later.
Did they ever finish all the panels in the room for the acoustics?
They did install additional panels. There is a proposal for further panels. Yes. but we
Okay.
have not installed those.
Well, I've tried to get it done for 4 years, so,
You're not the only one.
huh?
You're not the only one. It's,
Could we make
it's
sure
been-
for the
It's been an
budget
issue for a
meetings?
long time.
When people are sitting facing us at the budget meetings, if you've ever sat in the audience, it's hard to hear the people. Sometimes the microphone is screwed here, nobody can reach it, or the microphone's there. Do we have any more microphones like this?
I don't know. I'm assuming we have access to
buy
these
two more
microphones.
fast so-
I'm sure I'm assuming we have access to these microphones. So, Jonah, do you know if we could set that up to have more microphones for the speakers?
These are all the microphones that we currently have.
I can't hear them.
These able to
Okay.
I just know when people aren't used to speaking and you give them a microphone to hold, it makes them uncomfortable. I didn't know if we had any more of these, or if we got money we can spend in the corner, let's rush order 2 of these.
We do have some remote microphones as part of this new setup, which should improve.
I can't hear what he's saying.
He's saying that as part of that setup, we have some additional remote microphones. They may not be available
okay,
for the
good.
budget sessions, but obviously, if folks can't hear, we can certainly ask the speakers to speak into the microphone.
And the irony is also that if people are in the back of the room whispering, we can hear them.
Yes.
Which is also weird. So
We used
we
to have a
definitely need to
microphone
work on the
screwed to the
acoustics
table,
here.
and it came this high, so it never worked that year.
Anything else, Dan?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Other business. Nancy?
What are you going, couple of things. Has V-Trans inquired if the town of Bennington would like to take over maintaining the Peanut Rotary going forward?
No, they have not. I believe that there's a maintenance agreement that Bennington College has agreed to take over the maintenance of the landscaping within the center of the roundabout, but that is on a state road.
But we are going to get involved. We're going to leave that for V-Trans, correct?
We have not agreed to maintain the traveled way of the roundabout, no.
Are we even talking about it?
As far as I know, we have not talked about
Okay,
it,
no,
and it certainly is something that I would certainly not recommend it.
I just had somebody tell me over the weekend. A couple of years ago, I started asking if we could hire Cat TV to cover the Planning Commission meetings. After Select Board meetings, these are the most important meetings Bennington residents should be watching. And, you know, no easier way to watch it than be able to sit home watching in your living room. So anybody be opposed to doing that?
It does come with significant cost, $75 an hour.
It's all right. I think it's money well spent.
All right. Sarah?
Something to think about. And last, I'm sorry. I had no idea a couple of weeks ago that Governor Phil Scott would be meeting right here at our firehouse with local officials, law enforcement, and others to talk about public safety in the town of Bennington. As a member of the Select Board, I found out that night when somebody posted a photo online of the meeting. So going forward, I'd really appreciate it if somebody could, you know, shoot me an email. I don't know if the rest of you found out, but
The governor's office handled invitations to that meeting, and they were very explicit that they could accept one member from this board.
the governor's office said only one Select Board member.
That's correct.
If I may, I want to chime in on that note. As a trustee of the Vermont Veterans Home, I discovered the governor was having a lunch with the residents there by reading the banner the next day. And our director has made it a point to say to the trustees he would like us to be present maximally to events down there to interact with the vets. So when I called him and the director on this at our last meeting last week, he said, oh, you didn't know? And then the director of the home said the governor's staff indicated they didn't want a lot of people informed about what was going on, which is above the pay grade of this board, but as a citizen of Vermont, and even as an elected official, I find it reprehensible that the governor's staff would seek to exclude appointed people appointed to boards by the governor or people appointed to boards by the people of the town of Bennington. And I realize can't let everyone in the room, but I don't consider us everyone. I consider us representing the people of Bennington. Excluding us, in my mind, is representing or is disrespecting a large proportion of the people of Bennington. And, you know, Dan and Tom heard from me when I found about it, and they in fact looked into it and relayed to me that it's out of their control. This is how the governor's office operates, and I think even in the past, I was Mr. Hurd or with Dan here, in the previous time when I heard high-level state faculty or state staff members were coming, and the select board wasn't invited to meet with them, I again voiced my opinion that it's unacceptable for those people to come into Bennington without an invitation or even informing the select board, hey, we're going to be in town, and you have time to meet with us. You know, I'm sure enough people in this town would like to have their representatives speak with those people, or at least be in the same room, maybe even get a chance to express what we hear every day walking the streets of Bennington, what's important to the people of Bennington. So you're not alone, Nancy, but it is let you know, it wasn't just the board, it was even the select, even the trustees.
I will check with the governor's office to make sure if he specifically said that. I'm not questioning Tom.
I'll show you the email.
But there was a group of people. Well, but did it come from the governor himself?
Well, not his
no, it came from a staffer.
Well, I just want to make sure he knows what his staff is saying. There was a group I didn't know on one side of the table. Were these people from the Bennington County Alliance or whatever they go by now?
No, there were only representatives from, other municipalities in the county, because it was a Bennington County-wide event, but it was only...
There weren't people here from agencies and stuff like that?
No, not at the meeting I attended.
I didn't know the people sitting on this side, so...
Most of those were governor's staff.
And his bodyguards.
And was there any recording taken?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So I just want to address that, because this is something that happens virtually every year when the governor comes to town. And I can certainly respect that he wants to control his events, but I know that, you know, it would be nice if at least we were given some notice. And I know that Jonah reached out to the governor's staff. Who'd you reach out to, Jonah?
I forget her name, but I did request that in the future we be included in that list of people that would get press releases. We also read about it.
Yeah, so we've requested that at least town staff be alerted so that we could then relay that information to the select board members. What they do with that request, I can't say, but I understand some events need to be somewhat controlled, but you know, some of those events would have been helpful for at least staff and select board to be aware that they were occurring. And so, in any event, we hope that next year that's better communication, but we can't control that.
Sarah?
Sure, I just want to wish everyone happy holidays and be safe when you're traveling. I think the weather's going to look a little bad, but they don't always know, so happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays.
Jim?
Say it, Sarah. I'll say it.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, just a couple of things, because I don't think that we've talked about roundabouts enough tonight. I want to say that the Peanut roundabout on 67A at Silk Road in Bennington College is working pretty well, but as we talked about a couple of meetings ago, that construction wasn't finished this year, and they've left certain sections of pavement much wider than they should be, so traffic has a tendency to move through it a little more quickly than it should, and it makes yielding difficult. So I just want people to, be aware of the fact that you need to slow down before you enter that roundabout and always yield to vehicles on your left, and it works really, really well as long as all of that happens. And then one other thing is I went to the Monument Arts and Cultural Center last week to see their production of a Bennington Christmas Carol, which was just delightful, and I think just a remarkable gift to the community. I hope a lot of people saw it, and I also understand that the Bennington Theater had a really nice Christmas event, a Christmas cabaret, but in particular to the Bennington Christmas Carol production, I want to commend them on the reimagining of the Bob Cratchit character. Those of you who saw the performance will know why I'm saying that.
Jackie?
Yeah, I'm going to echo Sarah, though, and I just hope everyone out there has or had a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a Blessed Yule, Solstice, Idul Fatir, Kwanzaa, whatever you may or may not celebrate. I hope you get to enjoy some of the blessings this season.
Okay, man. Couple of things. For those of you who haven't had enough of roundabouts, if you're really bored and you have some gasoline, which is now under $3 a gallon everywhere I look in town, get on 67 driving toward Malta, between downtown Malta and the entrance to the Northway. There are 4 roundabouts in about a mile. And there's all sorts of traffic from shopping centers and apartments pouring into it. So if you practice driving through that, when they finally get them here, you'll be an ace. But that's, if you really have nothing better to do, try that. Keeping with the holiday, and my feelings are, we're celebrating the holidays, but why don't we just celebrate the holiday and the goodwill all year round? We don't reserve it for this month, please. And on that note, when are we going to talk about the dog bite rules? I know I've been asking for it, but that's just something that keeps popping up every now and then in conversations, what's going to be done. So a friend of mine, unfortunately, was impacted by that last event, and they mentioned, well, what's being done? And I'd say, I don't know. So
I hope to have something shortly.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you, everyone.
All right, in regards to the holidays, Jackie said almost exactly what I was going to say. So I will say that I've been very good about getting my flu shot every year, and this year I kept finding reasons to delay it. Last week I got the flu, and I was down for 5 days. It was one of the most unpleasant experiences I've had ever. So get your flu shot if you haven't gotten one yet. This year's is a doozy.
Well, but now you have that natural immunity. You've acquired it naturally, so you don't need a shot.
Yeah. So please, in all seriousness, get your flu shots. All right, we do have need. Oh, we don't. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Have a great evening. We'll see you next